Good morning, everybody on YouTube. Rick Thomas from Obsolete Video Services. Hey guys, we are finishing this up. It's a VO-9850 for a customer in Canada. He did buy this. This was one of the two decks we did have it for sale. And right now I'm just doing all the servicing of the deck due to the fact it was in very, very poor shape. Anyways, this deck is one of the decks that came out of the deck, a slew of decks that at one point came out of a TV station in Las Vegas. For my good friend Tony. And Tony is a great guy. He drove all these out to me, and we're just assessing decks that are good, bad, that type of thing. But this particular gentleman from Canada bought this deck. It's a VO-9850. Just want to walk you through a lot of the problems on this deck. We did finally get this thing to play after all the problems this unit had. We did have to replace the scanner. The scanner was completely locked up. We rebuilt the loading motor ring, all that type of stuff. Greasing, capstan roller, alignments, and we also had to replace the loading carriage. There was a gear broken in it, and I had to replace the belt as well. So I had to get this loading carriage back where the alignment was correct. We did the belts on this thing, all the alignments, greasing, you name it. This thing was a disaster. All right, this particular unit was sitting in a closet or something. I'm gonna tell you right now, this unit has been sitting at least 15. Possibly 20 years, at least. Because of the fact, the grease, I've never seen grease this hard on one of these decks. The grease was completely hard as a rock. I mean, I've seen bad grease on these units, but this one here was in very, very, very bad shape. It's been sitting a lot longer than normal, so I had to have a lot of extra work had to go into it to get everything loosened up and working properly. Well, as you can see, we got the playback working now on this deck, which is really good. And so anyways, let's walk you through all this. The repair was done. The mechanism was done. The loading carriage was done. Belts, lubrication, all that, blah, blah, blah. We got all the norm. The complete mechanism rebuild is done. So we're going to walk you through something else that I did. I also did what's called retro bright, which somebody online pointed out to me. We actually dipped these bezels in hydrogen peroxide overnight. They remove about 98% of the yellow, and it's looking very, very good now. So a lot better than it did. So I just put these bezels back on just now, and so now it looks it looks more presentable. It doesn't look like it's been sitting in a shed for 50 years. You know what I'm saying? We also put a brand new rubber boot on the shuttle. I had an extra boot for this. This one was all eaten away, so I put a new one on there. So we fixed it as much as cosmetically as I can. So that's a good sign. We do have a lid, a top lid for it that we're going to be installing on this unit. We do not have any side covers. I know it drives people crazy. It drives me crazy. But like I said, I did point out that these are for sale, but they don't have covers, and it's nothing I can really do about that. I have parts, but I don't have everything under the sun. Okay, stuff like this just comes around. When you get decks like this, most people just want them to work, and they're not really worried about cosmetic. But if you're one of these people who want it to look all nice and pretty, and I'm like that too, and I get it, these decks are not the ones that you're going to want. These are strictly for people who want decks that they're maybe doing tape transfers, and they want to get, one and done and get done with it, and they're not really worried about the beauty of the deck, which I totally get it. But anyways, we're just going to the paces on this deck, seeing if it's working properly, and I'm doing all the alignments and all that. This thing, like I said, this thing has some issues, so I'm just double checking everything. But this thing must have been sitting for a very, very long time, due to the fact that this was yellow more than usual. I mean, very, very, very yellow. But the deck itself, everything inside the deck was at a complete standstill, and it must have been sitting for a very long time, not like normal. So I think this is one of the first decks they might have had, and maybe it sat 15 years or longer. I'm not really sure. But, as you can see, we're getting it back where it belongs. The scanner is working really good on this now. So let's see if we can keep getting it working through the testing and making sure it doesn't lock up or jam or anything like that. But it seems to be working just fine now. So it looks like we're getting the deck working really, really good. This is for a customer out in Canada. I want to thank you very much for buying this. I mean, hope you get some great use out of it. I'm weeding out the decks I need, weeding out the decks I don't need, and you know, like I said, I don't mind servicing them, but you know, I got to make a little bit of money on it. The work on these is astonishing on some of these decks. So you know, it's nice to be able to get it to a deck to somebody who could actually physically use it. But anyways, this deck is completely done. We made it more presentable. The front bezel and everything is the yellow is probably 98% removed, and as far as the mechanism, that's a complete overhaul. I mean, complete. But it's playing, it tracks, everything is working very well on this thing. So we know that the deck is working really good. But this is a VO-9850, and this is from a customer in Canada. I want to thank you so much for buying it, and we will be shipping this out shortly. I just want to put it through its paces, but all we got to do is finish testing it, and I do have a top cover I want to clean up a little bit. You're going to have a top lid, but you will not have any side covers to it. Sorry about that. I wish I had. I wish I you know, all the decks over the years that I've taken apart, I now regret not keeping the covers for these things. I should have kept a bunch of them and just kept them in a box, because now I'm getting decks that have no covers at all, and that's generally because TV stations are a bunch of idiots and they throw them out and they don't keep them with the decks, because they know sooner or later they're going to pull the deck out of the rack, you know, and they sell it or whatever. They're going to need the covers, and I just don't get it. I mean, I worked in many television stations and video transfer houses, and I used to keep everything in boxes on the side of the racks, because if anything goes wrong, you need the covers. But I just don't get why TV stations would just throw out the covers. It's just mind blowing. But anyways, it is what it is. We're going to have a cover that will be for the top, no side covers, and he'll have a complete working deck. So I hope you enjoyed this video.